Welcome back. Do you feel like you're really good at your job but nobody knows who you are? Are you better than everyone else but you just can't get anyone to recognize you? Well, here to help you become a brand that everybody's going to need to work with is South Florida brand expert Jessica Kizorek. Jessica, great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
Awesome.
You have so much energy right now.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
It's South Florida. I
know,
love
right?
it.
How could you not be fired up? All right, so we're going to talk about how people can become brands and live the glorious, wonderful life, everything associated with that. But let's start with you because you've built yourself quite a pretty unique, cool brand. Mm-hmm. So who are you? That was like my Larry King question. Who are you?
Well, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I am a person that has a lot of different facets. I have a background in documentary filmmaking. I speak all the time about using video on the internet to market yourself. I also own a company called Make Them Beg, where we teach women business owners how to really be so irresistible in business that you have people begging to work for you. So we have an online training curriculum. So I'm a lot of things.
You know, it's funny, earlier in this show, we had a psychiatrist on and we were talking about the dangers of too much social media and a social media sort of digital dark boycott. But for the purposes of this interview, let's talk about how we can use social media.
And how you can use social media strategically.
Right.
Because I agree that there's too much and we spread ourselves too thin when we don't think about why are we using this particular media.
So it's not enough, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not enough to be good in your field and you know, be sort of content to just, you know, progress. If you want to hit the big time, you've got to be an expert. You've got to be a brand, right? You can't just be that, oh, that guy's good at what he does. No, you got to be bigger than that.
You can use the example of a woman making cupcakes, right? A woman making cupcakes out of her kitchen can, you know, she competes with so many different, she's making a chocolate cupcake and she's making this kind of strawberry cupcake or a vanilla cupcake. Then you take a woman who, and we'll talk about this, someone who goes outside and picks a niche. Maybe this woman picks her specialty are ginger carrot cupcakes.
Okay.
And nobody else is making those particular, so she goes off and she leverages that particular niche so that she can be well known and in fact raise her prices.
Right, and now I want a ginger carrot cupcake, so
random.
I gotta
right?
go get one actually. All right, so so how do we do that in its sort of full capacity? Like, what are some things that we can do practically to raise our brand awareness, to get people to know who we are and recognize us?
There's two different things you need to be thinking about is what are you making today and what are you making this month? It's like your current, what you're bringing in revenue.
Money-wise you're talking about.
Money-wise.
Okay, right.
Because this is a segment about business. Social media, I want to talk about it from the business perspective.
Right.
Because we can all mess around on our Facebook page, but ultimately, how does it come back to make you more employable, more able to make money? And that's what you really got to think about is how do you use these media most effectively?
Okay. And I know that you, by personal example, you've sort of branded yourself to a way that this book is kind of an indication of what we're talking about, and how you've now kind of built up your own brand, and now bigger and better things are happening for you financially, right? Yeah.
Well, I knew when I was in college, I started out as a fine arts major, and I had a come to Jesus moment, and I said, I can be an artist, but do I want to be a starving artist, or do I want to be a rich artist? And I made a decision that I wanted to be a rich artist. So I got a business degree. And I really wanted to understand how to be good at the business behind art. So it took me many years to build up my personal brand, to build up a reputation, to build up people know who I am. They talk about me. I've written other books. So now with my most recent book, this is a book about artwork, and it's a book about the kind of pieces that I do specifically. One of my medium is shattered mirrors.
Okay.
So I use shattered mirrors in my artwork, which makes my artwork different than anybody else's. And I wrote a whole book about the idea of reflection and about shattering reality.
Okay.
And then I use social media to put out pieces about shattered mirrors.
So if I'm kind of grasping this correctly, it sounds like part of it is really finding a niche, right?
Yes.
Like, okay, you're a great accountant,
Yes.
but what is the one thing that you do that nobody else does? And
Yes.
once you figure that out, then blow it up,
Yes.
right? So for people that aren't going to go back to school and get a master's, people that they can't do it, they won't do it. Practically, how do they do it? What are some creative tips to
great.
reinvent yourself?
First of all, think about what you want. And that's a step that a lot of people miss out on. They say, oh, I'm already a lawyer. This is the kind of law I do. Well, what kind of lawyer do you want to be? What makes you happy? What are your best clients who love you the most? Are they divorcees? Maybe you do divorce law, but you hate it. Well, then let's pick something that makes us happy, right? Because if you're going to go in a niche, you want to go into a niche that you can be in for the next 5 or 10 years. So step number 1, what makes you happy? Really do that sort of introspective thing.
And take your time on that. Because if you make the wrong decision with that, forget about it.
Well, you don't want to say, okay, I'm a divorce attorney, and then 2 years from now switch because it's 2 years of legwork that you've now got to undo.
And start over, yeah.
And so the other key thing is you want to figure out which clientele, number 1, has the most money to pay for you, and is the clientele that loves you the most. So don't go into a niche where you're competing against tons of other people. Go into a niche where people are going to appreciate you and they're going to pay you for what you're worth.
Do you recommend people talk to someone like a headhunter or something like this? Do you do your own sort of legwork? Do you simply go to Google and figure this out? How do you find out what pays the most and what you might be best at?
We've designed a course, my business partner and I, Michelle Villalobos. It's called Make Them Beg. And it's specifically all about how do you create this personal brand? Everything from the strategic of what do I want my life to look like? What would be ideal? What kind of, do I want to work virtually? Do I want to work live in an office? Like those kind of things, down to the tactics of, okay, once I've picked my niche, once I've created a website for myself and designed my logo and done all these things and made business cards and created this full package, like this full personality, TV personalities.
Yeah.
Then how do I, hour 6 of 7 hours is how do I use social media, for instance, to drive home? And how do I, for instance, if I want to be an environmental attorney, how do I go into different LinkedIn groups and start posting inside of environmental attorney groups? And how do I find this person, that person, and ask for introductions and start being strategic about the way that you can data mine inside of social media?
It's fascinating. And the last question is the celebrity angle, because I know that you have what's called the celebrity pyramid, right? So you're an artist, so I'll have you sort of paint us a virtual visual picture of your celebrity pyramid.
So there's 4 rungs to the celebrity pyramid. At the bottom you have a commodity. Like, for instance, an artist, a painter. They're a commodity because there's so many different painters. Even if they think their work is unique, it's usually not. They're a commodity. So then the next step up from that, and you can apply this to any field, cupcake makers, doctors, lawyers, whatever. The second rung up is you are a specialist. So you specialize in one particular medium. Maybe your medium is mirrors, right? So then you're a specialist. Well, then you move up one next level, and that's the master specialist, right? So you become known. You stop working in the other fields. People, every time they think of mirrors, or shattered mirrors in my case, they think of me, right? And then, so commodity, specialist, master specialist, and then celebrity. So by the time you're a celebrity, you're saying no to things more than you're saying yes. You're very picky about what you do and who you do it with. You're charging very high prices because people are willing to pay for them.
Right.
You've been in the media. You're all over the internet. Right? And those are some of the ways that you become a celebrity.
And I thought you just had to be friends with Paris Hilton to become a celebrity. I thought that's how it works.
Well, maybe once I'm friends with Paris Hilton, I'll be a full-fledged celebrity.
You can be a Kardashian. How can people get a hold of you?
MakeThemBeg.com.
That's pretty easy.
That's the best way.
Fun to have you here.
Thank you.
It's so exciting, and I feel like I learned more about shattered glass than I've ever known in my life.
I know, right?
All the best. Good to have you on.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jessica, and that'll do it for today's show. I hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, a big thank you to all of our guests. So if you have any ideas for what we should cover, all you have to do is tweet me at Dave Aizer, and you can also follow us on Facebook at Inside South Florida. So we'll see you next weekend, and of course, we'll see you all week, 7 to 9 a.m. right here for Eye Opener. Have a great rest of the day, a great rest of the weekend, and I guess I'll see you soon.